Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well and staying healthy. Today for my professional development, we're going to talk about Daily 5, centers, and stations. So which one do you prefer to use in your future classroom? Daily 5, centers, or stations? And I'm hoping throughout my professional development, if you don't already know, it will help you decide which one you want to use in your future classroom. So what do you already know about Daily 5? So I want you to take a minute maybe, think to yourself what you already know about Daily 5. Do you know what the 5 are? Or anything else you know about Daily 5? And then when you have something, you can type it on the Padlet, which my link is provided right here for you. So once you have something that you already know, I want you to watch this video and I want you to start it at the 1 minute mark and go until the 7 minute and 10 seconds part of the video. And I also want you to think after the video, what is something new that you learned? And you will continue to learn more about Daily 5. So what is Daily 5? Daily 5 creates a classroom of highly engaged readers, and it also helps them develop the love of literacy. Because if you're engaged in something you're reading, I know myself, I want to keep reading, and it makes me enjoy literacy. And every student is different, so it's important to have a variety of options to meet the needs of all your students. And it also is important to have a good fit book, as every student is at a different level, and we need to meet the needs of every student. It also instills behaviors of independence, and it helps them meet their personalized goals in reading. It also has no curricular content, and it can meet any school, district, state, or national standards. There's 5 authentic reading and writing choices. They are read to self, and we always want to start here because it's the foundation for lifelong learners, and it always starts with reading to yourself. So there are 3 ways we can read to ourselves. We can look at the pictures, read the words, or retell the story to a friend. A lot of times in the early ages, they can't read, so looking at the picture in the recipes will help them understand what they are reading. The second one is reading to someone. Oftentimes, that's very fun having a buddy to read to, and it's often the kid's favorite. And it also helps increase areas of comprehension, accuracy, fluency, and paroxysity. And it increases their reading involvement and their attention to their reading, and also the collaboration, and it can help them both comprehend. Sometimes balancing ideas off of each other of what may be happening helps the student learn as well. Another is listening to reading. Listening to reading, I know, is my favorite. There's so many websites out there that will help you listen to reading. And it also is a very good fluency model, especially to those who are inexperienced readers. And it's a good way to start. And the sooner we can get kids involved in reading, the better. And the next one, word work. Word work is when students experiment with spelling patterns, memorize high frequency words, and develop a curiosity for unique words. Children's speaking and writing skills improve, and their knowledge of words expands in variety. It's like the light bulb going off when they learn a new word. It's awesome. Perks of working with early childhood children. The last one is working on writing. It allows them to choice in their writing. And like we've talked about a lot, choice in their writing and having them write about interest in their writing is so important. I also think it's important to give them ideas. And yes, they can write about what they want. Sometimes it's hard. I know me as an early writer, it was hard for me to know, like, oh no, what do I write about? So I think it's important to give them ideas and help them get started, whether it's a sentence frame or it's like a book of animals or whatever it is to help them benefit and meet the needs of their needs. So there's so many ways to organize Daily Five, and it comes down to what works best for you in your classroom, whether it's book boxes, bins, tubs with labels, whatever works best for you. You can organize by theme, you can organize by the tasks that they're completing. So what is the teacher's role in Daily Five? Teaching and model, 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 model. It's especially important to go slow when you model and model expected and appropriate behavior, as well as inappropriate behavior like we don't draw on the table with our marker or other things that you don't want them to do. Because honestly, in early childhood, you have to tell them things that you sometimes think that you don't have to. So giving them examples and non-examples is very important in every aspect of teaching, especially in early childhood. Teaching and modeling, you want to give them plenty of time to teach the routines. So I think it's very important that you teach at the beginning of the year to help your students learn their expectations from the start. Another thing is it's very important to observe and watch them grow as students, as well as help them and maybe guide them on the right track if they don't understand what they may be reading. So now we're going to talk about centers. I want you to pause the video and think of 2 centers that you've seen in either practicum or student teaching. And then once you think of 2, then you can play the video and learn more about centers. So now that you've watched the video on centers, here are some benefits of centers. There's multiplied learning styles, and it meets the needs of all of your students. All our students are so different, and one might work well for another, maybe not for another, maybe not work best for another. It's very individualized. It allows them to keep a longer attention span because we know early childhood kids can't sit for longer than 10 to 15 minutes, more on the 10 end of the stick. They need go noodles and active brain breaks to help their mind refocus in the classroom. And centers also allow students to discover new things, self-discovery. That is so critical in early childhood. It also helps them develop social skills, not only in school academically, but it helps them learn other things that they'll need to know in the outside world, such as manners. Centers have a variety of materials meeting the needs of all of our students, those who need visuals and manipulatives, or those who just want to draw. It meets the needs of all of our students. Another benefit is it enhances concepts, skills, themes, or topics. It helps them grow in their learning and understanding. So what are disadvantages? Supervision is more difficult because you're giving an individual attention, but then the other ones in the room, you're not supervising them. So that's when it's helpful, early childhood too, when there's a lot of paras, because they're able to come in and help watch the other children. It's also costly, as there's so many centers. It's very costly and time consuming to set up your centers, trade out your centers every once in a while, but it's well worth it because it's helping your students be very successful. So making centers work. The materials should be organized and clearly labeled. It is important to not have more centers than are needed within the week. Introduce centers one at a time, explicitly demonstrating and practicing the routines for using it with children. Model, 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 model. Children need to know the specific tasks that are expected in the center. Each center needs an adequate supply of necessary materials. There should be no more supplies than needed, and establishing routines for participating in centers. So the teacher's role in centers: observe, listen, ask them questions to push them further along in their learning, and challenge them. Show them what to do when help is needed. It's important to show them what you want them to do when they have a question and they need some help. Support their first attempts. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. We're all not perfect, and we make mistakes. And tell them that's okay. Learning is a process, and it's okay to make mistakes. And help your students make discoveries and have aha moments. Now we're going to talk about stations. What do you already know about stations? So take out a piece of paper, or you can use your phone notes, whatever you want to take notes on, and brainstorm and think to yourself what you already know about stations. Whether it's types of stations or expectation at stations, whatever you know, write it down. And then when you're ready, you can watch the YouTube video and learn more about workstations in the classroom. Strategies for implementing learning stations in your classroom. Grouping your students. Everybody's station groups are different, I've noticed. So whether it's heterogeneous and it's boys and girls in the same group, or it's the same academic group. But I think as the year goes on, students progress at different rates. So it's important to reevaluate your groups. And that way too, it helps your students, it pushes your students to learn more, and they're not discouraged with their learning. Another thing is differentiate the work of the students. You want to meet the needs of each student, and everybody's different. What one may need, another may not need. Another thing is managing the flow of movement, whether it's transitions, bells, and timers. So far in my experiences, I've only seen a bell, but I also haven't seen stations until student teaching, really. But whatever works best for you in your future classroom. Right now, I plan to use music in my future classroom for transitions and moving from one station to the next. So what are some benefits of stations? It's an easy target literacy skill. It organized to fit in the classroom. It encourages student collaboration. And so ideas for stations that I've seen are dramatic play. I've seen vets and schools and house and so many other ideas out there too. And I always love seeing new ideas. So I'm excited to see your ideas on my next slide. And the technology station, iPad playing Pebble Go or Tumble Books, listening to stories online. There's so many options of stations. So what is the teacher's role in stations? It's important to switch up our groups because sticking students in the same skill level for a long time is detrimental to their confidence as learners. It's important to decide a strategy for transitions, put a timer on the board, print instructions so they know what's expected, even though modeling and like for the routine many times, it's still important to print instructions for the students. And another thing I thought was helpful is a next step protocol. So they know they're going to do this, and then they'll do this, and then when this is done, they'll do this. So they know when they finish something, what is expected of them next. And another suggestion was do not grade everything. I think this is great. Although we need to see where our students are at with like their formal assessments, I think it's very important we don't grade everything, because we need our students to enjoy school and not just be stressed about getting it all right and getting it done. Now what I want you to do is go to my link and put down 5 station ideas you could utilize in your future classroom. So click on my link and 5 ideas. And I also, on the first slide, have tell you what to do. So you put pictures or you put words, whatever you want to put. Just browse the web for like 10 minutes and find 5 station ideas you could utilize in your future classroom. So I decided to interview my cooperating teacher, Katie Robinson. It's her 8th year at Zeman Elementary, and I wanted to see what she thought about using stations in the classroom. Stations, Daily 5, or centers in the classroom, which one she preferred. So I'm going to go through, and you can pull it up if you want to, and I'm going to read you the questions and her answers. So the first question I asked is, why did you choose stations instead of Daily 5 in your classroom? From my understanding, it could be outdated advice. I don't know. Daily 5 does not lend itself to our curriculum as well as other curriculums. We have been encouraged to do stations versus Daily 5. I totally nerd out when it comes to stations. I love them because we can do so many things with kids. They can practice literacy, anything we want them to. I used stations to fill in gaps I feel our curriculum has. The second question I asked was, what is the most challenging part of managing each station? Teaching expectations and sticking to them. Kids do their stations 100% independently. They have to. I'm teaching small group. They have to not only know expectations, but actually be able to complete the station and do it well. So the third question I asked was, what type of station seems to be kids' favorite? iPad for sure. They love games though too, and anytime they can use fun tools that are different. Highlighters, scented markers, magnifying glasses, dice, etc. And then the fourth question I asked was, what type of station seems to be kids' least favorite? Some kids hate seat work. They do seat work daily this year in vocab notebook. They'll do this too, probably because it's just writing, cutting, gluing, etc., and no games or playing. What is your favorite part of station time? Seeing them collaborate with each other, learn and apply strategies and skills we learn in the whole group. I also am a nerd and I love planning and pacing stations and finding new ideas. How do you have them transition from station to station? Is there a noise you use? Yes, my service bell, I say. It's station blank, I need blank group. They transition 100% on their own. They must be able to check their own jobs and know where to go next and what to do. This is all scheduled on the whiteboard. We haven't used it much because at this point everyone is doing the same thing. With the pandemic and all this craziness, stations look a little bit different, she told me. Have you always used the same way of transitioning in your 8 years as a kindergarten teacher? Yes, it has just become more fine-tuned, and I think my expectations have increased for how they look while transitioning. I am sure that my first couple of years were kind of crazy. The next question, are there any other ways you have seen classroom teachers transition from station to station? I know some teachers use timers or give them a set time to clean. Others may pull them all back to the workstation workboard to see it before they move to a station. Some teachers have them stay in one spot the whole time and just change jobs, rather than change locations, like I would do in a normal year. How do you form your groups? Why did you do it this way? Groups are based on DRA level. Prior to having DRA data like now, I use Alphabet ID. My students are grouped together with students of like abilities. My groups are very fluid and change often to meet the needs of students. In a normal year, we would group across the grade level to best meet the needs of the students. How many different stations do you have? What are the differences between this year and a normal year at stations? Normally 10. See the attachment for those stations. I attached on the slideshow, I attached the planning sheet for this, for how they plan stations. The only ones not on the planning page are library, iPad, because they don't require planning. The 4 colored tubs are what I put literacy jobs, where I put literacy jobs. I say them all to refer to year after year. The color tubs may be letter ID, vowels, digraphs, blends, specific letters, etc. So the second link on this page is showing you how the kindergartners at Zeeman Elementary plan for their stations. So now I have my professional development articles, and I actually put one of Daily 5 stations and centers because I want to do what you think will be best for you. And whether it's the one you want to learn more about still, or it's the one that you want to utilize in your future classroom, you can read any 3 of these articles. But notice if you use the first one, you're gonna have to copy the URL into your search box, and it's a very long article, so I liked pages 3 to 6 the best. So if you want to just skim over, read through those. And then the stations one's there for you, and then the center ones there too. They're all really good articles and very beneficial. So if you want to read more than one, go for it, because I think they're all great articles. And then while you're reading, I have a slideshow for taking notes. So when you click this URL, it will come up and you'll see on the first slide your directions for taking notes. And then you're going to find your name and take notes on your slideshow. That says your name. And I hope you learn a lot, just like I did, reading these articles. And hopefully it will help you decide which one you want to utilize in your future classroom. So after you read the article, this goes to my final question. Which one will you use as a teacher and why? So I want you to put that on my Padlet that I have the link provided on this slide. And I think it'll be very interesting to see whether from the beginning of my professional development to now, if your opinion after the videos and everything and the information, if your opinion changed on which one you want to use in your future classroom. Thank you so much for listening.